Dame Pesos certainly had a lot of fun ripping into the Young Turks meltdown that night. That was fantastic. Anyway, I hope that was it. I hope finally the Democrats would be humbled enough to see the error of their ways, but no, they just doubled down. Instead, it was slander after slander. As soon as Trump took over office, there was accusations of Russian collusion. Ooh, scary. Of course, I'm being sarcastic because that's being slowly ripped apart each and every day. But the slander didn't end there. They would just not stop demanding for his financial records, hoping to find at least one little thing to incriminate him on. But the end, all it really was fools who didn't understand how business works or fools who didn't understand that legal loopholes for taxes exist. I remember when he was first declared victor that everyone was crying and worrying about how there's going to be World War III. Yes, back then the Democrats were anti-war. How ironic. And it doesn't even end there. He was accused of putting kids in cages at the border, showing photos of such a thing when really all that happened during the Obama administration. There was people being kicked out of a building one time in Washington, D.C. when that was Muriel Bowser's doing. The TDS was even so bad that it got into foreign countries. Like I know there in England there was this giant balloon of him, and it just got really frustrating because what real criticism can you really bring up of the guy? Like I would have wanted to know, but because of all the slander, I'm forced to defend him. The worst I really heard was mean tweets. And okay, I don't see how that's a big deal, but if you think that's a big deal, then you should seek therapy. Anyway, regardless of that, things were looking good. American policy seems to be improving for a change, and I remain optimistic that hopefully things would die down, especially when it got to the 2020 election, because, hey, second time's the charm, right? Well, no. Little did I know things were about to get a whole lot worse. Or rather, as I said before, they once again doubled down. The whole pandemic thing really seems so convenient, didn't it? Just happening at the absolute worst time. Now sure, we all pitched in to flatten the curve at first because we had to give the benefit of the doubt, right? Plus we didn't know how bad it really was. It was better safe than sorry, especially if it was just a week at most. But of course, when Trump suggested that we should get back to normal, that's when things went down south. Everyone in the left wing became blatantly authoritarian, outright refusing people from even going outside besides one little walk each day. Businesses that were not considered essential were essentially curbed, allowing big business to get an easy buck. It didn't matter how foolish it seemed, it didn't matter how hypocritical it seemed, the brakes needed to be put on everything for the sake of safety. The news media absolutely made everything worse. Before, they were just obnoxious. But with the return of BLM, as well as Antifa, it was endless defenses for them as they went around destroying property, burning down small businesses in the name of their cause, with it all being declared as mostly peaceful. All the while other groups such as the Proud Boys have been made into scapegoats, and other groups such as the Patriot Front have been made into false flags. It even got to the point of the Kyle Rittenhouse situation being made into a battleground for if the Second Amendment was really to be kept. It didn't matter if the news was making sensations out of stories. It didn't matter if the criminals had a black market to which they can get their guns. All that mattered was were the guns being used at the right people. The partisanship was even so bad that they outright lied about the race of the people that Kyle Rittenhouse shot in self-defense. That shouldn't be an important thing to bring up, but apparently in this modern world it is. But it still got worse, especially from the shenanigans in the middle of the night, as well as media censorship that permitted Biden to be next into the White House. The very same right wing that was criticized before never really left. These people, as we would come to know as rhinos, Republicans in name only, were in fact on his side. because a uniparty would be better than another term with Trump. With the January 6th false flag, some impeachment trials here and there, regardless of whether they actually succeeded, which they didn't, and bullying tactics that kept the Supreme Court silent, Trump, rather than feeding into their, oh, he won't leave the office, he'll fight for it narrative, just outright gave the seat and let the Democrats make fools of themselves. Even though Trump told everyone to go home, even though he never caused a fight, the Democrats still went out of their way to try to paint him as a boogeyman, as a distraction from what is to come, whether through incompetence or design. Under Biden, the COVID situation got worse. While Trump did manage to rush in a vaccine in order to keep the authoritarians from prolonging their tyranny, they created a new tyranny where this experimental drug was to be taken under all circumstances. And even if you did take it, there would always be more for you to take. It didn't matter who died. It didn't matter how many people died. It didn't matter how old the kids were when they got heart attacks during sports games. It didn't matter which celebrities suddenly passed out live from a stroke. They needed a way to keep up division. They needed a way to keep their control. And this is what they used. The vaccine, of course, was not the only problem that would follow. The border has been left completely open, allowing hundreds, if not thousands, of traffickers to cross through the border each and every day. Sometimes small children would be forced to wander around on their own, facing very certain death in their journey. The people running the government would often tell you there is no border situation, there is no problem, when there is very clear footage of thousands, if not millions, of people all lined up at the border. The economy, both through the pandemic and through needless spending, has taken a nosedive. Money was not going where it was supposed to, going into frivolous foreign spending or equity programs, and the denial would only heighten as the issue gets worse and worse. Foreign interference has made a comeback, whether through bombing innocent people on Syria or starting NATO shenanigans at Ukraine. These people would tell you that the Ukraine problem is justified because Ukraine is a NATO ally, which is blatantly false. They would never tell you of the chemical labs there, nor would they ever tell you of the business dealings that Biden made there through his son Hunter. They even at one point raided Donald Trump's house just to try to find something on him, anything. To which, of course, they did not. It's funny on Facebook that the socialist groups would refer to their opposition as bootlickers, referring to how everyone else wants the police to do their job in Democrat-run cities where crime is on the rise due to soft-on-crime policies and the cover-up of mass corruption. And yet, when it comes to the government themselves, when it comes to what the news would tell people to think is true, these same socialists will happily lick their boots.